Hello everyone, and welcome to my first upload to this channel. And today I'll bring you the first episode of the San Diego Padres franchise mode on MLB The Show 17. And where we were going to try and take the struggling San Diego Padres and turn them back into a contending team, a team that will hopefully lead to the World Series and really rebuild. Right now they're definitely one of the more struggling teams in the MLB in real life and ranked as the worst team in this game. Like I said, this is my first upload to this channel where I'll be bringing MLB The Show content, whether it's franchise mode like this first video, and eventually some Diamond Dynasty gameplay, which is what I tend to spend most of my MLB The Show gameplay on. But for now, this will be the first installment of this series. Basically, this is looking to be a rebuild series, and I'd like to try and keep this series at least somewhat realistic. So I'm not going to try and blow up the team and trade off any of our good players, like guys like Will Myers, try and trade them off for prospects, tank the first couple seasons, and then once our prospects have developed, and then go on a big winning streak. I want to try and keep this team around 500. If we can finish over 500 like our GM goals show, then that'd be great. But as of right now, if we can finish 500 in our division, that'd be fantastic, especially this first season. So looking at our GM goals, we do have GM contracts on, so I can be fired after my first 3 seasons if the team plays poorly and I make poor decisions. But hopefully that's not the route we have to take. So obviously our yearly goal is to finish over 500, which at least this first year might be a struggle. But in the end, after our 3 years, our goal is to reach the postseason. So I'd hope by our 3rd year we're at least contending for a wild card or the division. But I'd say it's going to be likely that the wild card will be, what we'd end up reaching. So now let's have a look at our team. I've just fixed up a couple of things. I am using the Operation Sports rosters. So the Operation Sports rosters did have the injuries that are in real life with the players in single A, which I've called back up to the MLB because they aren't actually injured in the game. It's just to show that they are injured at the time of the rosters being made. This is the latest one, I believe. So let's take a look at our roster. Obviously, Will Myers is our best player. He is signed to a long-term contract, which is great for us, 6 years. So we'll have him all through his prime, right up until he really starts to decline, I guess, really. And he is making a decent amount, but we're not going to have to deal with him wanting, going to free agency or wanting a massive contract as he really starts to get better. Because I'd expect Will Myers to end up somewhere in the 90s based on his potential and where he is now. Our next best player is Brandon Maurer, a 26-year-old who's actually 87 overall, who looks to be a good starting or closing pitcher for the foreseeable future. But the issue is that it looks like we do have a lot of players on contracts that are only on a year-to-year basis. So what this means is that as guys like Brandon Maurer or Carter Capps start to have good seasons and start to improve their overall, they're going to be wanting more money each year. So we're going to be looking to sign longer term contracts to try and keep our budget down, but we don't want to be overspending. We want to build most of our prospects up and acquire a lot of those prospects through our drafting, especially while we're one of the worst teams and we'll have a good position in the draft. But we don't want to be trading off our better players and tanking. Obviously, Ryan Butcher's 85 overall, not making a lot of money, and he is 30 years old. Let's see how much he wants. Okay, so his contract is actually very reasonable, which is good for us because it does expire at the end of the year. And he's a good lefty. Trevor Cahill is our best starting pitcher. Someone that he does make I guess 4.6 million is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but compared to what the Padres are spending on their players, it is, I guess, definitely on the upper end. Salate, he's got 2 years on his deal, and It's someone I don't see any sense in trading. He's someone that will give us good value and a lot of depth, and he can play a lot of positions. He's got decent stats, which is also good for us. The Stammen guy, probably just let his contract run out. He's 33 and making 1.2 mil as a 33-year-old. I don't really see him much in our plans in the future, but I guess we'll keep him around. Eric Ibar's another one that we'd be wanting to not move him, but I'd say we'll let his contract run out, and I don't think we'll re-sign him. We do have a shortstop prospect in our minor leagues. Where is he? So Alan Cordoba's actually a decent overall at 69, and a 21-year-old with a B potential. So he's someone that, by the time he's 23, 24, he might be around the 80 overall mark. And will probably end up, by the time his prime's over, in the mid to high 80s. So he's definitely someone looking to keep a hold of and develop and put some time into. And who knows, maybe if we keep Ibar around for a while, he can eventually take over in a couple of years' time. I just saw we do have this top 50 prospect here, Carlos Asueje, if I said his name correctly. He is a bit old, or a bit older than you'd like your prospects to be if they're only a 69 overall. But whether he becomes trade bait for us, or even if he might develop quite well, it's just the issue is that by the time he ends up in the mid-70s, he might be 27 or 28 years old, and then he might only really hit 81 or 82 overall by the time he's 30. So looking to rebuild, he's not someone that is really, I guess, a long-term solution for us. Maybe someone that can lead to some more younger players with some better potential overalls. Spangenberg's definitely a good utility player for us, not making a lot of money. Dickerson's someone that could end up as a good bench player as well. We don't really have anyone else as a good left fielder in the minor leagues. Manuel Margot is really the centerpiece along with Will Myers for this team. He's got a very good overall at 74, being only 22 years old, and a very high potential. Looking at his contract though, there is a chance that he might be wanting more, especially if he comes off a good season. He might want more money, but he's someone that we definitely want to try and tie down at least until free agency would hit him. So likely when he's 26 or 27. So we'd want to try and sign into a long-term deal, I guess, next off-season. Hunter Renfroe is another one. His overall is decent for a 25-year-old with a potential. And he's another one. So Manuel Margot and Hunter Renfroe are really going to be our two stud outfielders that we can keep, we'll have for the foreseeable future. Let's have a look at our starting pitching. We do have a prospect in Espinoza, who's only 19 with an A potential and a 64 overall. He's someone that will turn into just a freak for us. As you can see, he has that 92 velocity, so he's going to just throw gas. And honestly, his per nines aren't awful for a 64 overall. He does have that. He does have good stamina, which is really good to see. And 60k per nine at 64 overall is actually very, very good. So he's definitely a starting pitcher for the future and someone we don't want to get rid of. Going down the list, Morjon is someone that he might have decent trade value, being 18 with a B potential, but his overall is not at a point where, or I guess as an 18-year-old, but his overall you'd like to be higher, something like Espinoza, somewhere in the 60s. But the rest of our starting pitching isn't great. We do have Jared Weaver, who is 33 and making a bit of money, who I think we just let walk at the end of the season. He's one of our better starting pitchers, but once his contract's done, I don't think we renew him, or I don't think there's much sense in trading him. We might see what we can get for him. But if anyone watching this, if you have a suggestion maybe what to do with someone like a Jared Weaver or an Eric Ibar, leave it below, and I'll check out the comments if there is any, and hopefully in the next episode, which will definitely go through spring training, any preseason roster moves such as trades, and sorting out our minor league and major league rosters. That will take place in the next episode, which I hope to have out sometime tomorrow, or at least Australian time sometime tomorrow. So I'm not sure what time that is somewhere in the US, but I guess 24 hours from when this video goes up. Yes, I am from Australia, if you couldn't tell by the accent. Trevor Cahill is someone that, depending on how we do, that we might move at the deadline. If we are just completely shitting the bed and don't have any chance of being over 500, he's someone that at 4.6 million we can clear up a lot of cap space and we might be able to get a decent haul from. Robbie Erlin definitely will keep, not making a lot of money, is a decent age and has a decent overall, someone that could end up in the 80s, and by the time he's 30, whether it be a fifth starter or someone that we can trade off as a decent overall. Colin Ray's the same. Jared Cozart, I guess, is similar as well. But that's something we'll have to sort out as who our top 5 starting pitchers will be. Actually, looking at this, it might make sense to actually try and move Jared Weaver. We do have Cahill, Erlin, Ray, Friedrich and Cozart who could round out that starting rotation. Plus we have guys like Chashin and Clayton Richard who will probably be in AAA for us. And getting that salary off the books would mean we can spend more on our coaches and our scouts as well, and get some really good scouts so we can get some good plays in the draft. That's something that we'll definitely consider, and maybe next episode he'll be gone. But yeah, just looking at our rotation, it is quite weak, but we do have some bright spots there. And obviously our relievers, Butcher and Caps, are our 2 really good relief pitchers. Stammen's someone that once his contract's done, I don't think we'll renew unless we do need a decent reliever. And Brad Hand's relatively young, but we don't have any other really good relief pitching prospects. And our closers, Maurer is someone that I don't think we'll get rid of for a long time. If we can sign him to a decent deal, and a decent long-term deal, that'd be ideal for us. So that really wraps up just the team overview and I guess an introductory episode to this new series on this channel. If you've enjoyed it, feel free to comment any suggestions you might have for trades or lineup suggestions, how we set our lineup. This is how the game's got it looking now. I will go to no DH because we are playing the National League, so most of our games will be with the starting pitcher batting 9th. But if you've got any other suggestions for how we should set this lineup, it doesn't look awful, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a team that's going to be contending, let alone a 500 team. Obviously, also our starting pitching is quite dire, but what can you do? Our bullpen's not awful, and if it gets to that point where we have to sell, maybe the bullpen is a spot we look to sell or trade those players, because it seems to, at least from my experience in franchise mode, that relief pitchers and closing pitchers are relatively easy to come by, especially the prospects that you can sign from the draft. But we'll see how that goes. For right now, I just wanted to get this video out. It might be a bit long, but I'd hope that once the season actually gets underway, the videos will be, give or take, the 15 to 20 minute mark. Maybe if the second half of the season is really heating up and we're really starting to push for that, the wild card spot, we might go half an hour. But it's just going to really play it by ear. But I like the longer franchise videos and ones that go a bit more in depth. And yeah, any viewers that end up watching this, feel free to comment, because I want to try and keep it, interactive with the people that do actually watch these videos. I'm doing this mostly for fun and just out of boredom. And anyone that, feel free to chip in with any suggestions or just to talk about the series. So thank you all for watching. There should be a new episode out tomorrow where we'll go through spring training and potentially some roster moves. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.